Okay, Ahava, it's time for section 1.5. We used a number line in our last section so that we could do our adding and subtracting. But if we had a problem like negative 15 plus 250, we don't want to do a number line all the way out to 250. That's a really long way to go. So instead, we have rules that we can follow. I would suggest following the rules, even when it's small enough to use a number line, because the rules tend to be faster. You can do them in your head a lot of times. So the rules for adding integers are when you have like signs, that means you add the numbers. Now when I say you add the numbers, that doesn't mean that you add a positive and a negative number. It means you literally add just the numbers. We've already figured out whether or not the signs are like. So we don't have to worry about that part. We're just looking strictly at the numbers and you add the numbers together. If it has different signs, then you subtract the numbers and you keep the sign of the larger number. You always keep the sign of the larger number, no matter what it is. And keep in mind, these are only the rules for adding, not for subtracting integers. We'll do that tomorrow. So, let's look at some examples. Let's say we have negative 3 plus 1. Now we can do this one the old-fashioned way on here, but let's use our new rules to see what we would get. Negative 3 plus 1, that's adding, so that means we get to use this. They have different signs because one of them is negative and one of them is positive. So different signs means you subtract the numbers. So I'm going to say the number here is 3, the number there is 1, so when I subtract 3 and 1 I get 2. So I know that's going to equal 2. And then I go back and I have to keep the sign of the larger number. Which one's bigger, 3 or 1? 3. 3 has a negative sign, so this 2 is going to have a negative sign. Likewise, if I were to come over here and do that problem, I would start at negative 3, and then I move in the positive direction, 1, which puts me square at negative 2, which is what we got. So you can do it without the number line. Let's say we have negative 3 plus negative 1. Negative 3 plus negative 1, they are like signs because one's negative and the other one's negative. And since they're both the same, that means that they're alike. So we have to add the numbers. 3 plus 1 is 4. And then we keep the sign of the larger number. So 3 is still my larger number and it was negative, so that makes that negative. If I were to do it up here, start at negative 3, and then I'd have to go in the negative direction because it's minus 1. That puts me at negative 4. What if I had them in the other order? What if I had 1 plus 3? Well, that's pretty simple. 1 plus 3 has always been 4. It was that way back before any of this ever happened. Even your mom knew that 1 plus 3 was 4. That's because they have like signs. They're both positive. So that means we add the numbers. And we keep the sign of the larger number. Our larger number is still the 3. And right now it's positive. And that's why it's going to be a positive 4. What if we have negative 1 plus 3? I start at my negative 1. And then I go 3 this way, which would put me at 2. Or if I use these, they're different signs. So I subtract the numbers. Subtracting 1 and 3, I'm still going to get a 2. It's going to be a positive 2 or a negative 2. This time it's a positive 2. Look, it was positive. Positive because the 3 is positive. So my 2 stays positive. Now, if you haven't done it yet, make sure you write these down. Go ahead and pause the tape and write them down. The more you write it, the faster you're going to remember it. Let's get back to our original problem that they gave us, since I'm not going to draw a number line out to 250. Like signs or different signs? They're like signs, which means they're different signs, which means I have to subtract the numbers. So in my head, I can subtract it, or I can come over here like a little scratch sheet of paper and subtract it. Borrow. So I borrow from the 0, borrow from the 5 for the 0, that'll make that a 10, that'll become a 4, and 4 minus 1 is 3, and bring my 2 down. 235. So I get 235, and it'll be a positive 235 because 250 has always been bigger than 15. What if we had a different problem? What if we had one like 14 plus negative 72? I'm still subtracting, right, because they're different signs. Which number goes on top? Well, the 72 does. It doesn't matter which one was positive or which one was negative. You always need to put your biggest number on top. So that'll be a 12, and that's a 6, and 12 minus 4 is 8, and 6 minus 1 is 5, so that gives me a 58. And then we said 72 is the biggest number, so it must be a negative 58 because it was a negative 72. Simple enough? You think I can't trip you up? Okay. Negative 3 over 4 plus 7 over 2. Like signs or different signs? That's right, they're different. Which one's bigger? I hope you said 7 over 2, because 7 over 2 is actually bigger than 1, and 3 over 4 is not. 2 goes into 7 3 whole times, so that's the big one. So that would be 7 over 2 minus 3 over 4. Got to get that common denominator. So that makes it 14 over 4 minus 3 over 4, which gives us 11 over 4. Positive or negative? It's going to be positive because we said 7 over 2 was bigger. Now, don't know if it's been said yet, but if it hadn't, I'm going to say it again. 11 over 4 is a mixed number. We could change that. We could say 4 goes into 11 2 times with 3 left over and get 2 3/4. But we're not going to, because we're in algebra now, and we like to keep improper fractions. We don't like mixed numbers. They make things more complicated for us. We're going to leave it improper. Even if your book does mixed numbers, you need to leave it improper unless it specifically asks for your answer in mixed numbers. Okay, let's get a little more complicated. Going to need a little more space. Okay, going to need a lot more space. Big problem. Big, huge. Negative 4 plus 18 plus negative 40 plus 2. Just like before, we talked about parentheses Now those parentheses don't really mean to multiply because there's nothing in front or behind it or right beside it to tell you to multiply by it. Those parentheses are just saying, hey, that's a negative, not a minus sign. When you do these problems, you really do need to go from left to right so that you can follow the order of operations, because that's what the order of operations says. Go from left to right when you're adding and subtracting. So, -4 plus 18, different signs. So we subtract. 4 from 18 gives us, no it doesn't. See, I told you it didn't. Gives us 14. Keep the sign of the larger number. 18 was bigger, so it's going to be a positive 14. Then I can write the rest of the stuff down. What we didn't do just drops right down. So, now I come back. Do these two. Different signs, so we subtract. 14 from 40. It's 26. Keep the sign of the larger number, so it'll be a -26. Drop down what we didn't use. Then I can do these two. -26 plus 2. Different signs means we subtract. So it'll be a -24 because we keep the sign of the larger number. You think it was too easy? Think you're ready for one? Okay. We'll give you one. Think you can handle all this? I will give you one. Not a problem. There you go. Yes, those are absolute value bars. Yes, I hope you're done. If you're not, you should pause it because I'm getting ready to work it out. Okay. Before we do anything else, we have to do the stuff inside of our grouping symbol. This is our grouping symbol because it's got more than one number in it. So I need to take care of this part first. -17 and a +28, different signs. So I keep the sign of the larger number, so it's going to be positive, but the different signs tells me to subtract. So 28 subtract 17 gives me 11. That's a positive 11 inside of my absolute value. The stuff I did not do, I drop right down. Now I can take the absolute value of positive 11, which gives me a positive 11, but that negative sign is still in front of it. The only thing I did was get to drop my absolute value bars. Now I have -11 plus -15. This time they're like signs. It means I get to add. So that gives me 26. Keep the sign of the larger number, so it'll be -26. I hope that's what you got. Hey look, I did it right. They should pay me for this job. Okay, so this is about as difficult as it's going to get in your book. So I'm ready to go ahead and tell you what your classwork is for today. Make sure when you're done with your classwork that you take it to your mom so that your mom can check it. It is the practice exercises this time. On page 24, numbers 2, 4, 10, 12, 16, and 22. Once you do those 6, I know there are only 6. Wasn't that nice of me? Once you do those 6, you get to work on your homework. Same page. Numbers 11 through 41 odd. Make sure you check your answers to your homework in the back of the book before you try to go on to tomorrow. Make sure you get them right. If you have a problem with something or you got a question, you can always call me. Okay. Love you. Bye.